Let's bring in Ambassador Todd Buchwald, former head of the State Department's Office of Global Criminal Justice. We appreciate you being with us. Thank you again. We have this new information about asylum being offered to Russian soldiers who abandon the mission. Have we ever seen anything like this before? And would they have to go into some type of witness protection if they do?
Well, good morning, Adrienne. Thank you for having me on the show. The details, of course, have to be worked out, but the idea of offering asylum is not completely novel to this situation, and I think it's a good inducement and a good part of the positioning of the issue going forward.
I think that for a lot of people, they're thinking about the desperation that President Zelensky has to try and stop this war, all while being, bombarded with missiles. You actually are on record. You said last month that the course of this war could determine whether or not Putin and his allies are held accountable for war crimes in particular. Is this latest massacre, or what we've heard is a massacre in Bucha, which the Kremlin has denied, is that a turning point in this war?
Well, it's obviously mobilized the international community. Basically, you need three things. You need to build cases, which is happening now. There's a lot of documentation work. The State Department, the NATO, other countries are putting together cases. An important element of putting together the cases is the principle of command and superior responsibility, that those in command are responsible for that which their subordinates do. At least they have to look into it and to take appropriate measures to try to bring things under control. And that doesn't seem to be happening. The second thing is you need to find a court. And I don't think at the end of the day there'll be any one court. Obviously, the most prominent institution is the International Criminal Court. They're already on the case. But I think ultimately it's very likely that there'll be cases, maybe not against Putin himself, but various cases, and in Ukrainian courts against war crimes charges. And then the third, and the one that people think is the most uncertain, at least for higher ups, is you have to gain custody. And experience shows that that's not easy in the case of very senior leaders, but also experience shows that you can't dismiss the idea that it will happen. It has happened. When I was Ambassador for Global Criminal Justice, one of the highlights of my time in the office was sitting in a courtroom in Dakar in 2016, I believe it was, and where the former dictator of the country of Chad was convicted in a court set up by the African Union to try the case. And, I was sitting there thinking this had gone on for scores of years, back to the 80s, and that the lawyers working on this in the mid-1980s must have thought at the time that the chance of this ever coming to fruition must have been 1 in a million. But there I was sitting there, and it had happened. And the reason is because things change, and things change in unpredictable ways. Things could change in Russia. Things could change in a lot of different ways. And at the end of the day, I think that it's important to pursue this regardless of whether Putin is actually prosecuted. It does marginalize him. It is a statement of solidarity with the Ukrainians, a statement of solidarity with victims. And it also has the potential of being something of a deterrent effect. The idea of, it fits in with the idea of sort of offering refuge to Russians who come over to the other side. You put in the minds of people up and down the chain, I better not do this because I have a risk here, a personal risk, and give them a possibility of fighting back, an incentive to fight back, an incentive to disobey. And I think that's a very healthy element.
Well, we only have time for one more note from you, but you did mention being the former head of the State Department's Office of Global Criminal Justice. You said 1 in a million in this case previous in Africa, but 1 in a billion, 1 in a trillion for Putin himself to actually face any type of consequences? I mean, what happens? What is the consequence for Russia besides making a very broad statement to the world that we won't stand for this kind of behavior?
Well, the deterrent effect, the reminding ourselves of how important this is, and rallying ourselves and our allies together. And you do marginalize Putin and other senior leaders. You make it so that they are fringe figures in the international community. They can't travel. They can't enjoy shopping trips to London and Paris and so forth. And I think all of that is a very important contribution that this kind of effort can make.
Ambassador Todd Buchwald, thank you again for your time and your insights. We really appreciate you joining us for 6 o'clock. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to click on the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.